Is an Arctic outbreak about to crash your Thanksgiving dinner? This Thanksgiving week is shaping up to be one of the most chaotic and complex holiday weather patterns we've seen in years. It all starts with a major event happening way up in the atmosphere. High above the North Pole, a stratospheric warming event is currently unfolding, which is a fancy way of saying the air way up there is heating up dramatically. When this happens, it severely weakens the polar vortex, that giant swirl of frigid air that usually stays locked up over the Arctic. Think of it like a spinning top wobbling out of control. This disruption is already causing the jet stream to buckle and snake wildly across North America, opening the floodgates for blasts of Arctic air, significant snow, and even the threat of ice to spill deep into the United States. What we're seeing is not typical for this early in the season, and it is setting the stage for a week of extreme weather that will impact millions of travel plans right across the country from coast to coast. With the jet stream in disarray, a deep trough is being carved out over the western and central United States, turning the region into a meteorological battleground. Out west, waves of Pacific moisture are slamming into the coastline, bringing soaking rains. As this energy moves inland and hits the higher elevations, it's going to dump impressive amounts of heavy snow across the Rockies, from Montana all the way down to Colorado. Meanwhile, on the eastern side of this trough, a completely different weather story is unfolding. Warm, humid air is surging north from the Gulf of Mexico, creating a sharp and volatile temperature clash. This boundary is the perfect fuel for igniting thunderstorms, and we could see a round of severe weather, including damaging winds and hail, erupt across parts of Oklahoma and Texas early in the week. This initial setup is just the opening act for an even larger storm system that's on its way, promising to disrupt travel plans just as they're getting started. The real chaos kicks into high gear around Tuesday when two separate storm systems perform a dramatic merger. The first is the low-pressure system crawling out of the desert southwest, carrying all that thunderstorm potential. The second is a fast-moving clipper system dropping down from Canada. When these two collide over the central U.S., they will consolidate into one massive sprawling storm that will impact a huge portion of the country. This megastorm will have a split personality. On its southern and eastern flank from the Ohio Valley down into the southeast, it will unleash widespread showers and thunderstorms, creating wet and potentially hazardous travel conditions. But on the northern and western side, where cold Canadian air is being pulled into the circulation, we're looking at a completely different story. This is where we expect a swath of heavy, wet snowfall to develop across the upper Midwest, and the northern plains, threatening to snarl travel in places like Minneapolis and Chicago right before the holiday. As we head into Wednesday and Thanksgiving Day itself, that enormous storm system is forecast to lumber eastward and stall out right over the Great Lakes region. This is a worst-case scenario for anyone living downwind of the lakes. As frigid Arctic air rushes over the relatively warm waters of Lake Erie and Lake Ontario, it will trigger intense bands of lake-effect snow. This means localized but incredibly heavy snow squalls could bury parts of western New York, like Buffalo and northwestern Pennsylvania, under feet of snow, making travel nearly impossible. At the same time, the Northeast looks to be an absolute washout. The current forecast shows a dreary all-day rain for much of New England on Thursday. So if you had outdoor Thanksgiving plans there, it's probably time for a backup plan. This active, messy pattern will make for a very challenging holiday for millions. Whether you're dodging rain, thunderstorms, or a full-blown snowstorm, it's a true coast-to-coast event. Now let's talk about the main event for much of the country, the cold. That huge buckled dip in the jet stream isn't just steering storms. It's opening a direct pipeline from the Arctic Circle straight into the heart of America. An invasion of genuinely frigid air is set to pour south, and the temperature drop will be staggering. For many in the Midwest and the northern plains, temperatures are expected to plummet by as much as 20 to 30 degrees in a single 24-hour period between Wednesday and Thursday. It's going to be a brutal shock to the system. Thanksgiving Day itself is shaping up to be the coldest point of the week for a vast area, with temperatures likely running 5 to 10 degrees below average. This isn't just a light chill. It's a raw, biting cold that will make it feel much more like late January than late November. So, if you're planning to head out for a family football game, you'll definitely need to bundle up in your heaviest winter gear. It's going to be a frigid holiday for many. The cold blast doesn't just pack its bags and leave after the turkey is gone. This wave of Arctic air will continue its march east and south through the end of the week. That means Black Friday and the rest of the holiday weekend are likely to feel bitterly cold across the Ohio Valley and the mid-Atlantic states. In some of these areas, temperatures could be as much as 15 degrees below the seasonal average, which is a significant departure from normal. The big question and the wild card in this whole forecast is just how far south this cold air and the storm's energy will manage to dig. The exact track of the jet stream is still wobbly, which means the forecast for the East Coast remains a bit of a moving target. The timing of the storm system's arrival will determine whether they see a cold rain, a wintry mix, or just gusty winds and plunging temperatures. It's a reminder of just how much this entire week's weather hinges on the chaotic aftermath of that stratospheric warming event. Putting it all together, this holiday week is setting up to be a true cross-country travel nightmare. Whether you're flying or driving, you'll need to stay on high alert. We're looking at the potential for severe weather delays in the south, major airport disruptions from snow and wind in the Midwest and Great Lakes, and a complete, soaking washout creating hazardous road conditions throughout the Northeast. Even the Pacific Northwest won't be spared, with its own system bringing heavy mountain snow and coastal rain. This isn't a single storm to track. It's a continent-wide atmospheric battle playing out at the worst possible time. The key takeaway is to expect the unexpected. Check your forecasts frequently before you head out, and maybe build some extra time into your travel plans, because there is a very high chance that Mother Nature is going to throw a wrench in them at some point this week. It's a very active pattern with a lot of moving parts. And if you think this is wild, it might just be the opening act for what's to come in December. This Thanksgiving cold snap, as potent as it is, could just be an appetizer. Some long-range forecast models are already hinting at the potential for an even more powerful, full-fledged Arctic blast during the first week or two of December. We're talking about the kind of outbreak that could send temperatures plunging 30, or even 40, degrees below average across a huge portion of the northern U.S. While it's still too early to nail down the specifics of where and when, the atmospheric signs are there for a very cold and stormy start to the winter season. So enjoy the holiday, stay warm and safe, but be prepared. It looks like winter is planning to arrive early and with a vengeance this year.